The galaxy trembled under the weight of conflict. Distant worlds, once vibrant and flourishing, lay in ruins, their populations reduced to mere shadows of their former selves. The fearsome warlord, Keltar, commanded an armada that swept through systems like a storm, leaving devastation in its wake. As the leaders of various alien factions convened in the dimly lit war room of a battered space station, desperation hung thick in the air. "Time is running out," rasped Terra, a sharp-eyed Xandari strategist, as holographic displays flickered with images of the ravaged planets. "If we don't find a new ally, our civilizations will be extinguished." At that moment, the signal began to pulse on the central screen, a garbled message crackling with urgency. It was a distress call from a human exploratory fleet, one that had recently ventured beyond the fringes of known space. The aliens exchanged glances of disbelief. "Humans?" questioned Gorak, a hulking Brakthar warrior, with a growl that resonated like thunder. "They are but children of their world. What use could they be in this war?" "Desperate times call for desperate measures," Terra replied, her voice steady. "We must make contact. They may possess untapped potential." Back on Earth, Captain Ilara Quinn stared at the monitor, her heart racing. The exploratory fleet had been on the fringes of the galaxy for weeks, mapping uncharted territory. But now, as she decoded the distress signal, it became clear that they were not alone in their isolation. The urgency of the message shook her from her thoughts. "Captain," her communications officer, Lieutenant Maya Chen, interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from the Coalition. They want our assistance against an imminent attack." "Prepare to respond," Ilara commanded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We may be the only hope for those worlds. Engage the hyperdrive and set a course." As the fleet hurtled through the stars, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point. The excitement of exploration mixed with the weight of responsibility hung heavy in the air. They arrived at the coordinates to find chaos. A fierce battle raged between the alien coalition and Keltar's forces. "Look at that," Ilara murmured, her eyes glued to the view screen. "They're outnumbered. We need to help them." "On it," Maya replied, her fingers dancing across the console. The human ships, sleek and agile, joined the fray, drawing fire from enemy vessels. Ilara's heart raced as she issued commands, their strategies born from years of military training and quick-thinking ingenuity. As the human ships engaged, Ilara felt a surge of adrenaline. They launched a series of hit-and-run tactics, using their speed to outmaneuver larger vessels. The crew worked seamlessly, their trust in one another palpable. Suddenly, alarms blared. A capital ship from Keltar's fleet was bearing down on them. "Brace for impact," Ilara shouted, gripping the console as the ship rocked violently. "Redirect power to shields." Just then, a massive explosion lit up the void outside the view screen. One of the Coalition's ships had succumbed to enemy fire, and debris spiraled through space. With a swift decision, Ilara ordered a risky maneuver, diving the fleet into the fray. "Follow my lead," she barked. The human ships zipped through the chaos, dodging fire and debris, closing in on the enemy ship. In a breathtaking display of coordination, they launched a concentrated barrage of missiles, striking the capital ship's engines. It erupted into a fireball, marking the first victory for the Coalition. Cheers erupted from the crew, but Ilara remained focused. "We have to keep moving. They'll be coming for us next." As the battle raged on, the Coalition forces rallied. Encouraged by the unexpected assistance, they pushed back against Keltar's army, reclaiming lost ground. After hours of intense combat, the enemy finally retreated, leaving behind a field of wreckage and the silent echoes of the fallen. With the battle won, the Coalition leaders welcomed the humans aboard their damaged station. Terra approached Ilara, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You fought bravely, human. Perhaps there is more to your kind than we assumed." Ilara smiled, feeling the weight of their desperate situation. "We're just getting started." As the leaders gathered for a crucial summit, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was on the brink of something monumental, an alliance that could change the course of history in a galaxy torn apart by war. The dimly lit conference room aboard the Coalition's flagship buzzed with tension. Holographic displays projected maps of the galaxy, marking the territories controlled by Kaltar and his relentless forces. Around the table, leaders from various alien races eyed each other warily, their expressions a mix of hope and skepticism. Captain Ilara Quinn took a deep breath, her heart pounding. This was her moment to advocate for humanity's place in this fractured galaxy. As she stood, the room fell silent. "Honored leaders," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of their gazes. "We are not here merely as bystanders. We have faced our own struggles, and we understand the importance of unity in the face of overwhelming odds. Together, we can defeat Kaltar." A hush swept over the room as she continued, recounting humanity's history of resilience, ingenuity, and bravery. Her words ignited a flicker of hope in the weary eyes of the alien leaders. "Your battles are our battles," she concluded, glancing at Zarek, the young alien warrior who had become her ally. He nodded encouragingly, the determination in his eyes reflecting the spirit of their newfound partnership. As discussions progressed, they delved deeper into strategies and tactics. Ilara's tactical insights drew admiration, but beneath the surface, tension simmered. Korak, the Brakthar warrior, remained skeptical, crossing his arms as he listened. "Why should we trust you?" Gorak growled, his voice low and rumbling. "Your kind is still learning the ways of war. What if you betray us?" Ilara met his gaze, refusing to back down. "Trust is earned through action. Let us show you what we can do. We have advanced technology and tactics that can turn the tide." The discussions continued late into the night, filled with heated debates and passionate exchanges. As the hours passed, alliances began to form, not just among the leaders but among their soldiers. Cultural exchanges blossomed as the different factions shared their histories, forging bonds that would strengthen their coalition. The atmosphere shifted when a transmission interrupted the summit. An urgent plea crackled through the speakers. A planet under siege by Kaltar's forces was broadcasting a distress signal. "They need us," Ilara said, her resolve hardening. "This is our chance to prove ourselves." With a unanimous decision, the coalition prepared for an immediate response. Ilara rallied her crew, each member feeling the weight of their responsibility. As they entered the hangar bay, adrenaline surged through her veins. "Listen up," she called out, gathering her team. "This is not just a mission. It's our first step into the galaxy as a united force. We fight not just for ourselves, but for those who can't." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted. As the fleet launched into the void, Ilara piloted her ship at the forefront, her determination fueling her every move. The stars blurred into streaks of light as they sped toward the besieged planet. As they arrived, the scene was dire. Kaltar's ships loomed over the planet like vultures, raining destruction upon the surface. The coalition fleet maneuvered into position, ready to engage. "Here's the plan," Ilara outlined, pointing at the holographic display. "We'll create a diversion while the ground forces evacuate civilians. Zarek, you lead the ground team." Zarek's heart raced. "I won't let you down, Captain." With the plan set, Ilara led the aerial assault, weaving through enemy fire with agility. The chaos of battle ignited her senses. As coalition ships engaged in dogfights with Kaltar's vessels, Ilara barked orders, coordinating their movements with precision. In the midst of the battle, Zarek and his team landed on the planet's surface, their hearts pounding. They raced through crumbling streets, dodging blasts and debris. Zarek's instincts kicked in as he guided the civilians to safety, determination etched on his face. Back in the sky, Ilara faced a massive enemy cruiser. "We need to take that ship down," she shouted to her crew. "Focus fire on the engines." With a coordinated barrage, their missiles struck true, igniting a chain reaction that sent the cruiser spiraling into chaos. As the ship exploded in a brilliant display of color, a surge of triumph rippled through the coalition forces. With the skies cleared, Zarek signaled the retreat of the remaining civilians. They had managed to save many lives, but the battle was far from over. As they regrouped, Ilara's heart swelled with pride at what they had accomplished together. When the dust settled, the coalition leaders convened once more. Tira's eyes glimmered with newfound respect. "You have proven your worth, Captain Quinn. We cannot underestimate humanity any longer." Ilara smiled, a sense of belonging washing over her. They had taken the first step together, an alliance born from necessity, strengthened by shared struggles. As they turned their gaze toward the stars, the future seemed brighter, filled with possibilities they had yet to explore. In the wake of their hard-won victory against Kaltar's forces, the atmosphere aboard the Coalition flagship buzzed with excitement and newfound resolve. Ilara Quinn stood at the forefront of the command deck, her gaze sweeping over the diverse crew working tirelessly to prepare for the upcoming summit with neighboring systems. They were no longer merely humans. They were representatives of a united front, a beacon of hope in a galaxy on the brink of annihilation. "Captain, the delegates are arriving," Lieutenant Maya Chen announced, her voice breaking through Ilara's reverie. "We've set up the conference room for the meeting." "Thank you, Maya," Ilara replied, straightening her uniform. "Let's make sure everything is in place. This is our chance to solidify our alliance." As the delegates entered, the diversity of the coalition was on full display. Alien leaders, each representing their respective factions, took their seats around the vast table. Tira, the Xandari strategist, looked composed yet eager, while Gorak's formidable presence loomed over the gathering. Ilara cleared her throat, her heart racing. "Honored leaders," she began, her voice steady, "we stand at a crossroads. Our recent victory against Kaltar has proven that together we can turn the tide of this war. Today we must formalize our alliance and outline our strategy moving forward." The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement and skepticism. Tira gestured for silence, her sharp gaze focused on Ilara. "What do you propose, Captain Quinn?" Ilara paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle. "I suggest we establish a council that includes representatives from each faction. This council will oversee military strategies, resource allocation, and joint operations. We must work together, not just as allies but as partners." Gorak leaned back, crossing his arms. "And what makes you think your kind can lead such an endeavor? You have much to prove." Ilara met his gaze with unwavering determination. "We have already shown our capabilities in battle. We can learn from each other's strengths. Let's leverage our differences to create a more formidable force." The delegates exchanged glances, weighing her words. After a moment, Tira nodded. "I believe in the potential of this council. We have little choice but to trust each other if we wish to survive. But we must also prepare for Kaltar's retaliation." As discussions progressed, each leader presented their unique strategies and resources. Ilara listened intently, taking notes and weaving together the threads of their ideas into a cohesive plan. The room transformed into a vibrant exchange of knowledge, each faction contributing its strengths to the coalition. Suddenly, the room darkened as a holographic display illuminated the center table. The image of Kaltar appeared, his chilling visage looming over them. The atmosphere shifted, tension coiling tightly around the delegates. "You are fools to think you can stand against me," Kaltar's voice reverberated through the chamber, dripping with disdain. "Your alliance is but a fleeting illusion. I will destroy you, one by one." A surge of anger rippled through the room, and Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose. "We will not be intimidated," she declared, her voice cutting through the fear. "We are stronger together than you could ever imagine. We will fight for every world under your tyranny." With that, the meeting resumed, a fire igniting within the coalition. Strategies were laid out, combining the unique technologies and combat styles of each faction. Ilara felt a sense of camaraderie forming among them, a bond forged in the crucible of war. As the delegates prepared for a joint demonstration of their capabilities, Ilara took Zarek aside. "Your insights during the meeting were invaluable. How do you feel about representing the coalition in the demonstration?" Zarek's eyes widened with excitement. "I would be honored, Captain. I want to show everyone what we can achieve together. My people have always valued strength and unity." With Zarek's enthusiasm bolstering her spirits, Ilara organized training sessions leading up to the demonstration. The coalition soldiers, once wary of each other, began to find common ground. They shared techniques and tactics, learning to trust one another as they practiced. Days passed in a whirlwind of activity, camaraderie blossoming among the soldiers. Ilara felt the thrill of anticipation building as they prepared for the demonstration. It would be their chance to showcase not just their military might, but their shared vision for the future. On the day of the demonstration, the coalition fleet assembled in orbit around a barren moon, the backdrop of their united forces glimmering in the starlight. Each ship glowed with determination, ready to demonstrate their combined strength. Ilara stood at the helm of her ship, flanked by Zarek and other coalition leaders. As they launched into coordinated maneuvers, showcasing the unique capabilities of each faction, cheers erupted from the crew. The dance of ships, Zandari cruisers, Brakthar battleships, and human vessels created a mesmerizing spectacle. With each successful maneuver, trust solidified among the soldiers. Ilara knew that this demonstration was more than just a show of force. It was a declaration of their unity, a statement that they would not be broken by fear. As the final maneuver concluded, a sense of victory washed over her. Ilara looked at Zarek, who beamed with pride. "We did it," he said, his voice filled with awe. "Yes, we did," Ilara replied, her heart swelling with hope. They had formed an alliance not just in name, but in spirit. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, and the galaxy would tremble at the strength of their unity. The atmosphere aboard the coalition flagship was charged with excitement and determination. Following the successful demonstration, the alliance was emboldened. They had proven their strength to the galaxy, but now it was time to hone their skills further. Ilara Quinn understood that to confront Keltar effectively, they needed to train together, alien and human forces side by side. In the training halls, a mix of humans and aliens prepared for the first joint training session. Ilara surveyed the scene, a mix of apprehension and optimism swirling within her. She gathered her team, consisting of skilled soldiers from each faction, and stepped onto the central platform. "Listen up," Ilara called, her voice cutting through the noise. "Today we're going to learn from one another. Each of you brings unique strengths to this coalition. Let's embrace our differences and turn them into our greatest asset." Zarek stood beside her, his youthful enthusiasm infectious. "We've faced down adversity before. Together, we can create strategies that no enemy can withstand." The assembled soldiers cheered, their camaraderie palpable. Ilara felt a swell of pride as she witnessed the unity forming among them. They were no longer just representatives of different races. They were becoming a true coalition. Ilara divided the teams into mixed groups: human, Zandari, Brakthar, and other alien soldiers. She wanted them to learn not just tactics, but also to build trust. Pair up and show each other your combat techniques. Share your skills and strategies. We'll regroup in an hour. As the training began, Ilara moved among the groups, watching as humans demonstrated their marksmanship, while Zandari soldiers displayed their agility and stealth. She could see the initial hesitance giving way to excitement as they exchanged techniques and insights. Zarek partnered with a burly Brakthar warrior named Korgath. Despite their differences in size and fighting styles, they quickly found common ground. Zarek demonstrated a quick, evasive maneuver, showcasing his agility, while Korgath shared his powerful melee techniques. The laughter and competitive spirit that emerged were contagious. Ilara spotted Gorak, standing off to the side, his arms crossed, watching the proceedings with a skeptical eye. She approached him, hoping to bridge the gap. "What do you think, Gorak? Are they learning?" "They may learn," he replied gruffly, "but will they truly be ready for battle? Trust takes time, and this will not be easy." Ilara nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "That's why we're doing this. They need to see that we're all in this together. Trust is built on shared experience." As the training session progressed, Ilara organized a series of drills that required teamwork. In one exercise, teams had to navigate a simulated battlefield, responding to various attack scenarios while covering one another. The initial confusion soon transformed into a well-coordinated effort as soldiers learned to rely on each other's strengths. After the drills, Ilara gathered everyone for a debrief. "You all did remarkably well today. But remember, this is just the beginning. We need to keep pushing each other to grow stronger, both as individuals and as a coalition." Maya stepped forward, her brow furrowed with concern. "Captain, we've had reports of increased activity from Kaltar's forces in the outer systems. They know we're gaining strength." The mood shifted, tension thickening the air. "Then we need to act," Ilara said decisively. "We can't wait for them to strike first. Let's initiate a series of reconnaissance missions to gather intelligence on their movements." The soldiers nodded, the fire of determination igniting in their eyes. Zarek raised his hand, eager to volunteer. "Let me lead a team. I can scout with my people's stealth technology. We'll gather vital information." Ilara smiled at his eagerness. "That's the spirit, Zarek. Let's put our skills to use. Prepare your team for the mission." As the teams prepared, Ilara felt a sense of unity solidifying among them. They were becoming more than allies. They were becoming a family forged in the fires of conflict. The next day, Zarek and his team set out, their ships slipping through the void with practiced precision. Ilara watched from the command deck, her heart a mix of pride and concern. This was their chance to gather crucial intelligence. But the risks were high. Hours passed, the tension palpable as they awaited Zarek's return. Finally, a transmission came through. "Captain Quinn, this is Zarek. We've located a Kaltar supply convoy moving through the outskirts of the Jexar system. We've gathered intel on their routes and supply levels." Ilara's pulse quickened. "Excellent work, Zarek. Bring that information back immediately. We can use it to disrupt their operations." "Understood, Captain. We're en route," Zarek replied, his voice filled with excitement. As they regrouped, Ilara felt a surge of hope. They had taken significant steps forward, not just as individuals, but as a coalition ready to face the darkness ahead. Trust was growing, skills were being honed, and their resolve was unwavering. They were preparing to fight for the galaxy and for each other. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in purpose and spirit. The alliance was stronger than ever, and Ilara knew that they were ready to confront Kaltar's forces head-on. The time for action was drawing near, and she would lead them into the fray. The days following Zarek's successful reconnaissance were filled with fervent preparations. With the intel on Kaltar's supply routes in hand, the coalition's leaders convened to plan their next move. Ilara Quinn stood at the forefront, her heart racing with the weight of their impending mission. This was their opportunity to strike a significant blow against the warlord's forces. As the leaders gathered in the conference room, tension crackled in the air. Holographic displays showcased maps of the Jexar system, pinpointing critical supply depots and vulnerable transit routes. Ilara could feel the eyes of the alien leaders upon her, a mixture of expectation and skepticism. "We have identified 3 key targets," Ilara began, projecting confidence. "If we can disrupt Kaltar's supply chain, we can weaken his hold on the region. Each strike will require coordination between our forces to ensure success." Tira nodded, her sharp features set in determination. "Which target do you suggest we prioritize?" "The central depot," Ilara replied, her finger hovering over the largest red dot on the holographic map. "It's heavily fortified, but if we can manage to take it down, We can cripple their supply lines significantly. Gorak crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. It won't be easy. They will expect us to strike. We must prepare for a counterattack. Ilara leaned forward, her voice steady. That's why we'll need to create diversions. If we spread their forces thin, we can hit multiple targets simultaneously. I propose that while we target the central depot, we also launch feints at the other two depots to mislead them. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, and Ilara felt a surge of hope. They were beginning to trust her instincts and leadership. Zarek, and I can lead the feint operation, Maya interjected, her eyes gleaming with determination. We'll use our ship's speed to draw their attention while the main force hits the depot. With the plan set, they spent the next few days coordinating their efforts, rehearsing tactics, and ensuring their forces were ready. Ilara could see the camaraderie strengthening among the various factions. They were no longer just a collection of different species, but a unified force, eager to fight alongside one another. As the day of the operation approached, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She wandered the ship, observing her crew preparing for the mission. Zarek was busy briefing his team, a sense of purpose radiating from him. "Captain," he called out, spotting her. "We're ready for this. I can feel it in my bones." Ilara smiled, appreciating his enthusiasm. "I know we are. Remember, stay focused and keep communication open. We'll need to adapt quickly as the situation unfolds." The day of the operation dawned, and Ilara stood on the bridge, her heart pounding as the fleet assembled in formation. Ships of various shapes and sizes glided into position, each adorned with the colors of their respective factions. A sense of unity washed over her. "Coordinates set," Maya reported, her fingers dancing over the controls. "All ships are ready for launch." "Let's do this," Ilara said, her voice steady. "Engage." The Coalition fleet surged forward, slicing through the darkness of space toward the Jexar system. As they neared their targets, the tension mounted. Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for the battle ahead. Approaching the first target, Maya announced, her voice a mix of excitement and focus. "We'll initiate the feint in 10 seconds. Remember your roles," Ilara reminded them, her heart racing. "Stay sharp and watch each other's backs." As they arrived at the central depot, the fleet came to life with the flashes of weapons fire. The depot was heavily guarded, Kaltar's ships already mobilizing to defend their supply line. "Initiate the feint," Zarek shouted as his team launched their attack, drawing enemy fire away from the central target. Ilara's heart raced as she coordinated their assault, giving orders for strike teams to engage. Ships moved in sync, launching torpedoes and engaging in dogfights, the chaos of battle igniting her senses. "Captain, enemy reinforcements are inbound," Maya warned, her voice tense. "They're responding to Zarek's team. Pull them back," Ilara commanded. "We can't let them be caught in a crossfire. Everyone, regroup and focus on the depot." As the Coalition fleet pressed their attack, Ilara felt the intensity of the battle rise. Explosions lit up the darkness as they struck the depot's defenses, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. They had come too far to turn back now. But just as they began to breach the depot's perimeter, a warning klaxon blared through the ship. A massive Kaltar capital ship emerged from the darkness, its ominous silhouette dwarfing the Coalition vessels. "Prepare for impact," Maya shouted, urgency in her voice. Ilara's heart dropped. "We need to hold the line. Engage that ship." As they readied themselves for the fight of their lives, Ilara's resolve solidified. They would not falter in the face of adversity. This was their moment to shine, a test of their unity and strength. Together, they would face whatever came next, because failure was not an option. The atmosphere aboard the Coalition flagship shifted from anticipation to chaos as the massive Kaltar capital ship loomed ominously before them. Ilara Quinn felt the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on her shoulders. This was not just another skirmish. This was a defining moment for the newly forged alliance. "Captain," Their weapons are charging. Maya shouted, her fingers flying over the controls as she maneuvered their ship into a defensive position. Divert all power to shields. Prepare to engage. Ilara commanded, adrenaline pumping through her veins. We need to buy time for Zarek's team to regroup. The Coalition fleet adjusted their formations, quickly shifting into defensive positions. Ilara's heart raced as she watched their ships surround the formidable capital vessel. Its sleek hull glinted menacingly, and she knew that one misstep could spell disaster. The first shots rang out, a barrage of energy beams cutting through the void. Ilara's ship shook violently as the shields absorbed the impact, the alarms blaring in protest. Shields holding at 70%. Maya reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. We need to counterattack before they can target us again. Rally our fire on that ship. Focus on the engines, Ilara shouted, rallying her crew. If we can disable it, we can turn the tide of this battle. As they engaged the capital ship, the Coalition's ships unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy blasts. The capital ship returned fire, its massive turrets tracking their movements with deadly accuracy. Ilara guided her ship through the onslaught, narrowly dodging incoming blasts. We've got incoming enemy fighters. Zarek's voice crackled through the comms. We need backup. Hang tight, Zarek. We're on our way. Ilara replied, her heart pounding. Maya, divert some of our fighters to assist him. We can't let them overwhelm his team. Understood. Maya responded, issuing commands to the fighter squadrons. They're launching now. As the fighters zoomed into action, Ilara's attention remained on the capital ship. The Coalition's tactics began to take effect as they coordinated their fire, and she could see the enemy's shields flickering under the assault. Keep the pressure on. We're making headway. Ilara urged, her voice filled with determination. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the flagship, sending vibrations through the deck. Captain, we've taken damage to the aft. Maya shouted, her eyes wide. Hull integrity at 50%. Reinforce the rear shields and maintain evasive maneuvers, Ilara ordered. The reality of battle was settling in. They were fighting for their lives and the fate of the Coalition. Zarek, how's the situation on the ground? Ilara asked through the comms, hoping to gain insight into their allies' progress. We've taken heavy losses, but we're holding our ground. We're making a push toward the supply depot. Zarek responded, his voice trained but resolute. Just keep the capital ship busy. Hang in there, Ilara urged. We'll do everything we can to support you. As the battle raged on, Ilara felt a surge of adrenaline. The Coalition ships were working together, covering each other's flanks, and their training was beginning to pay off. But just as victory seemed within reach, Kaltar's ship unleashed a devastating wave of energy, targeting the Coalition's lead vessels. Watch out! Maya yelled, and Ilara felt the ship shudder as they narrowly dodged the blast. We need to disable their weapon systems. Target the main turrets. Focus fire. Ilara commanded, her heart racing. If they could neutralize the capital ship's firepower, they might stand a chance. As the Coalition poured their fire into the turrets, the capital ship's shields began to flicker. Ilara felt hope rising within her. They were making progress, but she also sensed the urgency of time slipping away. Captain, Zarek's team is in trouble. Maya exclaimed, her eyes wide with concern. They're being flanked by Kaltar's reinforcements. Redirect our fire to provide cover. Ilara ordered. We can't lose any more of our ground troops. As they shifted their fire, Ilara's gaze remained locked on the capital ship. With one final push, the Coalition launched a concentrated assault on its remaining defenses. Energy beams surged through the void, striking true. The capital ship's shields flickered, then collapsed under the relentless barrage. Ilara felt a surge of triumph. Now, target the engines. We need to disable it before it can escape. As the Coalition unleashed a final barrage, the capital ship shuddered violently, smoke and sparks erupting from its hull. Ilara watched, breathless, as the engines flickered and died. The ship was crippled, drifting helplessly. Direct hit. We've disabled the capital ship. Maya cheered, her voice filled with exhilaration. Excellent work, everyone. Let's finish this, Ilara shouted, a surge of adrenaline pushing her forward. They needed to capitalize on their momentum. Just then, Zarek's voice crackled through the comms again. Captain, we've secured the supply depot. We're moving to assist with the capital ship. Great work, Zarek. We need your team to cover our flank, Ilara replied, her heart swelling with pride. Together, we can end this battle. As they regrouped, the coalition fleet pressed their advantage, launching a final assault on the stricken capital ship. Explosions erupted in a brilliant display, and Ilara felt the thrill of victory surging through her veins. With the capital ship disabled, the coalition fighters swarmed in, engaging the remaining enemy vessels. Ilara felt a rush of exhilaration as they fought side by side, the bonds of their alliance solidifying with each victory. In the aftermath of the battle, as the last of Kaltar's forces retreated, Ilara stood on the bridge, her heart pounding with pride and relief. They had faced the darkness together, and in doing so, they had emerged victorious. As the coalition fleet regrouped, Zarek's voice came through the comms, filled with excitement. We did it, Captain. We really did it. Yes, we did, Ilara replied, a smile breaking across her face. They had proven their strength as a coalition, and the galaxy would tremble at the mention of their names. But deep down, she knew this was just the beginning. The fight against Kaltar was far from over, and they would need to stand united for the battles that lay ahead. Together, they would forge a future worth fighting for. The aftermath of the battle echoed with a sense of euphoria aboard the coalition flagship. Celebratory cheers rang through the corridors, mingling with the sounds of engines and comms crackling. Ilara Quinn took a moment to absorb the victory, her heart swelling with pride as she watched her crew, human and alien alike, celebrate together. Captain, Maya approached, her face alight with excitement. We've received word that our strike against the central depot has been successful. Kaltar's supply lines are in disarray. Good. This is the momentum we need, Ilara replied, her mind racing. But we can't let up now. We need to capitalize on this victory and press the advantage. As they regrouped to discuss their next steps, Zarek entered the command deck, still buzzing with energy. Captain, we've managed to gather critical intel from the supply depot. It contains information on Kaltar's upcoming operations and troop movements. Excellent work, Zarek, Ilara said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Let's analyze that intel. If we can predict their moves, we can stay one step ahead. The room grew quiet as the leaders of the coalition gathered around the holo-table, focusing intently on the data being projected. Maps of Kaltar's territories illuminated their faces, revealing a sprawling network of supply routes and bases. Terra pointed to a series of outposts clustered near a strategically significant planet. This is where Kaltar is gathering his forces. If we can strike here before he fully assembles his troops, we could significantly weaken his position. Gorak nodded in agreement, his fierce demeanor softened by the glow of camaraderie. But we must be cautious. If we underestimate him, we could face dire consequences. Ilara considered their options carefully. We'll need to assemble a task force capable of executing a rapid strike. Speed and surprise will be our greatest allies. Let's form teams from each faction to ensure that we're working in unison. As they finalized their plan, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose. The coalition was no longer just a collection of disparate forces. They were a formidable army, united in their resolve to take down Kaltar. In the days that followed, the coalition forces underwent intensive preparations. Training sessions intensified, with soldiers from all factions practicing their coordination and tactics. Ilara was inspired as she witnessed the bonds forming between the soldiers, their differences becoming strengths that enhanced their combat effectiveness. As the operation day approached, Ilara spent a moment reflecting in her quarters, staring out at the stars. The enormity of their mission weighed on her, but she felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility toward her newfound allies. They were risking everything, and she had to lead them to victory. "Captain, we're ready for launch." Maya's voice cut through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. "Thank you, Maya. Let's do this," Ilara replied, her resolve solidifying. Together, they would confront the darkness looming over the galaxy. As the fleet assembled, anticipation thrummed in the air. Ships from every faction lined up, each bearing their insignia with pride. Ilara stood at the helm, her heart pounding as she looked over her crew, her friends, her allies. "Today, we strike a blow against tyranny," she addressed her crew, her voice steady and commanding. "We've trained for this moment, and now we will show Keltar that we are united, that we will not back down." The fleet surged forward, engines roaring as they broke through the void toward their target. Ilara felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, a blend of fear and excitement coursing through her. As they entered the atmosphere of the target planet, the capital ships took formation while smaller fighters darted ahead for reconnaissance. Ilara watched the tactical readouts, noting the positions of Keltar's forces. "Maya, what's the status of our scouts?" Ilara asked, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. "They're reporting heavy defenses at the primary outpost, but they've detected a window of opportunity. We can launch a surprise attack if we move quickly," Maya replied, her voice filled with urgency. "Then we move now," Ilara commanded. "All ships, engage." The coalition fleet plunged into the fray, firing upon the outpost's defenses. Explosions erupted around them, illuminating the sky with fiery bursts. Ilara guided her ship through the chaos, her crew moving seamlessly together as they targeted enemy installations. "Zarek, how's the ground team?" Ilara asked through the comms. "We're hitting our marks. We're in position to breach the outpost," Zarek responded, his enthusiasm infectious. "We've got this." As they pressed their assault, Ilara felt a surge of hope. This was the turning point they needed, and with every explosion and every enemy ship falling, the tide of the war seemed to shift in their favor. "Target the command center," Ilara shouted. "We need to cut off their leadership." As they coordinated their fire, Ilara's heart raced. This battle was different. It felt like a culmination of everything they had fought for. Together, they were rewriting the narrative of the galaxy, standing up against tyranny with unwavering resolve. With one final push, their forces penetrated the heart of the outpost. The command center shuddered under the relentless assault, and Ilara could see the enemy forces beginning to falter. "Now let's finish this," Ilara rallied, her voice ringing with determination. "For our worlds, for our freedom." As their fire converged on the command center, Ilara knew that this was not just a battle. It was a declaration of unity, a promise that they would stand together against any foe. The coalition was rising, and with it, the hope of a brighter future for the galaxy. The battle raged on, the coalition forces pressing their advantage as they closed in on the Keltar command center. Explosions lit the sky, and the air hummed with the sounds of combat. Shouts of command, the whir of weapons, and the booming echo of energy blasts colliding with armored structures. Ilara Quinn stood at the helm of her ship, her heart racing as she directed her crew with a fierce determination. "Focus fire on the command center," she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We need to eliminate their leadership to ensure victory." As their ships unleashed a coordinated barrage, Ilara felt a sense of purpose coursing through her veins. They were fighting not just for their survival, but for a future free from tyranny. The sight of their ships working in unison, human and alien alike, filled her with hope. "Captain, we're taking heavy fire from the eastern flank," Maya warned, her fingers flying over the controls. "We need to divert some of our forces to cover that side. Redirect the support ships and send in the fighters to engage," Ilara ordered, her mind racing as she calculated their options. We can't let them regroup. As the order was executed, Ilara's eyes flickered to the holographic map, where the red markers indicating enemy forces began to dwindle. It was exhilarating, watching their collective efforts pay off. Yet, even amidst the excitement, she felt the weight of responsibility. They had come too far to let their momentum slip away. Suddenly, Zarek's voice crackled through the comms, urgent and strained. "Captain, we've breached the outer defenses, but Keltar's elite guard is holding the command center. We need backup to push through. Hold your position, Zarek. Reinforcements are on their way." Ilara replied, her heart pounding. "You can't falter now." She turned to Maya, determination etched on her face. "Let's give Zarek the support he needs. Prepare to launch a full-scale assault on the command center." "Launching now," Maya responded, her voice filled with urgency as she relayed the commands to their allied forces. As they surged toward the command center, Ilara's ship shook violently under enemy fire. She gritted her teeth, focusing on the task at hand. "All ships, keep firing. We're not backing down." The coalition forces poured every ounce of firepower into the command center, the energy beams striking true. The once imposing structure began to crumble under the relentless assault. Ilara felt a rush of adrenaline. They were on the brink of victory. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the area, sending debris flying. Ilara braced herself as the shockwave hit. "Status report," she shouted, scanning the deck for damage. Maya's face was a mask of concentration. "We've lost some shields, but we're still operational. The command center is weakening." "Then let's finish this," Ilara exclaimed, determination surging through her. "All ships, concentrate fire on the command center. We need to eliminate Keltar's forces." As they pressed the attack, Zarek's team fought fiercely within the command center, battling Keltar's elite guard. The sounds of clashing weapons and shouts of determination echoed through the comms. "Push forward. We can't let them regroup." Zarek's voice rang out, filled with fervor. "We're almost there." Ilara watched as the last remnants of the command center's defenses crumbled under the coalition's assault. The enemy forces began to falter, retreating in disarray. With a final, concentrated blast, the command center erupted in a brilliant explosion, lighting up the battlefield. "Command center down," Maya shouted, her eyes wide with disbelief and excitement. Cheers erupted from the crew as they absorbed the news. Ilara's heart soared. This was their victory. They had taken a significant step toward liberating the galaxy from Keltar's oppressive rule. But just as relief washed over her, a chilling voice cut through the comms. "Foolish interlopers, you think you have won." Keltar's holographic image flickered to life, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "You may have destroyed my command center, but my forces will not be so easily vanquished. Prepare to face my wrath." Ilara's stomach dropped. "We need to regroup. Keltar has a backup plan," she commanded, rallying her forces. "Don't let your guard down." The battlefield shifted as remnants of Keltar's forces reorganized, preparing for a counterattack. The coalition fighters spread out, taking defensive positions while they regrouped. The atmosphere was tense, filled with uncertainty and determination. "Captain, we need to make a decision," Maya urged. "If we don't act quickly, they could overwhelm us." Ilara's mind raced. They had come too far to back down now. "We'll initiate a strategic withdrawal to reorganize," she decided, knowing it was essential to maintain their strength. "We'll regroup at the rendezvous point and launch a counteroffensive." As they retreated, Ilara felt the weight of her leadership settle on her shoulders. They were fighting for more than just their survival. They were fighting for a new future for the galaxy, a future free of oppression. Days turned into weeks as the coalition regrouped, trained, and planned their next moves. Ilara felt the bonds between their factions deepen, solidifying into something more powerful than she had ever imagined. They were no longer just a coalition. They were a united front, ready to face whatever came next. As they prepared for their final assault on Keltar's stronghold, Ilara stood on the command deck, gazing out at the stars. A sense of hope filled her heart. They were ready. Together, they would face the darkness and emerge victorious. This was their moment. This was their time to change the galaxy. The coalition would rise, united against tyranny, and the galaxy would tremble, not in fear, but in anticipation of the dawn of a new era.